Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov has again made it clear that Russia is not planning to stop its war against Ukraine. Speaking in Beijing, where Vladimir Putin was visiting China, Peskov said Moscow would continue what it calls its special military operation until it achieves its goals.
Against the backdrop of Zelensky's militant statements, we must and will continue the special military operation until we achieve our goals.
Russia is now openly complaining that even under Donald Trump, the United States is not lifting pressure but adding new sanctions. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said Washington continues to extend the sanctions introduced under Joe Biden and is also adopting new measures against Moscow. For the Kremlin, this is an uncomfortable signal. Even with Trump in the White House, the expected reset with the United States has not happened.
Even under the Trump administration, more and more independent, new sanctions are being adopted, in addition to the fact that all the Biden-era sanctions are being regularly extended.
The Kremlin is once again confusing memory with Russophobia. Dmitry Peskov, Vladimir Putin's spokesman, accused the Baltic states of what he called manic anti-Russianism. According to him, Lithuania, Latvia and Estonia are so blinded by hostility toward Russia that they can no longer think about their own future. This is coming from a Kremlin that invaded Ukraine, threatens its neighbors, and then acts surprised when countries once occupied by Russia do not want to trust Moscow again.
Unfortunately, the Baltic states are indeed manically anti-Russian. Manically anti-Russian. This anti-Russianism blinds them, prevents them from thinking about the future, prevents them from doing what is in the interests of these countries.
Ukraine says the dynamics on the battlefield are shifting in its favor. President Volodymyr Zelensky said Ukrainian forces are holding more positions and inflicting greater damage on Russia. He pointed especially to Ukraine's long-range strikes, what he called long-range sanctions, saying they proved their power in May. Zelensky said he has already approved long-range action plans for June and called for Ukraine to expand these operations' creativity.
This month saw changes in the dynamics in our favor, in Ukraine's favor. We are holding more positions and inflicting more damage. The impact of our long-range sanctions against Russia has been especially significant. Today, I approved our long-range action plans for June, and we must creatively expand Ukraine's long-range sanctions, which proved their power in May. Our Ukrainian heroes of different generations who defended the idea of independence fought for our state and were buried across Europe, in America, and in other countries. We are bringing them home. We have both the opportunity and the moral duty to rebury them here in Ukraine, at home. A process has now begun regarding Colonel Andrei Melnik and his wife Sofia, iconic Ukrainians of the 20th century who are deeply respected. Decisions are also being prepared regarding Colonel Yevhen Konovalets and other major historical figures.
In the United States, Putin's visit to China is being seen as a message to Washington. His trip to Beijing was no coincidence, coming just days after U.S. President Donald Trump completed his own state visit to China. Ed Price, a senior non-resident fellow at New York University, told CNBC that Putin is using the visit to reaffirm Russia's position as China's closest geopolitical partner.
This is a reminder to the Americans that, yes, you can come to China as much as you want, but Russia is closer and friendlier than you are. As long as President Putin has territorial ambitions in the West, that is, in Ukraine, he needs to pursue diplomatic successes in the East, that is, in China. That is another way of saying that President Putin is playing the long game for the Russian state, in which he moves as close as possible to China while fighting what he sees as the threat, namely NATO in Eastern Europe. China-Russia relations have entered a new stage of greater achievement and faster development. Steadfastly promoting the long-term, stable, sound, and high-quality development of China-Russia relations is a strategic choice jointly made by me and President Putin, with a view to the fundamental interests of both countries and the broader trend of global development. I and President Putin had agreed to extend the Treaty of Good Neighborliness and Friendly Cooperation between China and Russia.
While Putin was flying to Beijing to talk about stability, Ukraine's defense forces struck Russian oil and military infrastructure. The key targets were the Lukoil refinery on Russia's Nizhny Novgorod region and the Yaroslavl 3 oil pumping station. And Kyiv has already warned there will be more such strikes in the future.
As a result of the strike on the Yaroslavl 3 oil pumping station, preliminary reports confirmed damage to 4 tanks with a total capacity of 140,000 cubic meters. The station is an important element of the Russian Federation's oil transportation system and is involved in supporting the military-industrial infrastructure of the aggressor state.
Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov has dismissed Volodymyr Zelensky's warning about a possible Russian attack from Belarus as incitement. But Ukraine's concern did not come out of nowhere. Belarus was used by Russia as a launch pad at the beginning of the full-scale invasion in 2022. It borders Ukraine and NATO members Poland, Lithuania and Latvia, and it now hosts Russian tactical nuclear weapons. Zelensky warned that Moscow may be trying to drag Belarus deeper into the war and could use its territory for a new move either against northern Ukraine or against a NATO country. Reuters reported that Zelensky specifically mentioned possible operations toward the Chernihiv-Kyiv direction or against NATO states bordering Belarus. Moscow, as usual, calls the warning provocation. Peskov said Belarus is Russia's ally and part of the United States, but remains a sovereign country. Then he predictably accused Kyiv of trying to fuel the war.
We do not think such statements deserve any comment. Belarus is our ally. We have a union state with Belarus, but it is a sovereign state. Therefore, such statements are nothing more than an attempt at further incitement aimed at prolonging the war and escalating tensions.
And Russia is escalating its rhetoric again, this time over Lithuania and Kaliningrad. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov reacted to comments by Lithuanian Foreign Minister Kęstutis Budrys, who said NATO should show Russia that the alliance has the capability to break through the Kaliningrad region if necessary. Peskov called the statement borderline insane and said Moscow does not believe such remark should be taken seriously. According to him, the comments show what he described as the frenzy of Lithuanian politicians.
This statement is on the verge of insanity. The Baltic states are indeed manically anti-Russian. This anti-Russianism blinds them, prevents them from thinking about the future, prevents them from doing what is in the interests of these countries. In other words, politicians who are so frenzied are unlikely to be capable of any well-thought-out, sophisticated actions.
Russia attacked Sumy overnight, injuring 8 people, according to Ukraine's state emergency service. The strike damaged residential building and the local history museum. Fires broke out in several places. Footage from Sumy shows rescuers working inside damaged apartments, evacuating residents on stretchers and clearing debris from the building. Ukraine's Air Force said Russia launched 154 drones overnight. Ukrainian air defense shot down 131 of them. This is another Russian attack on a Ukrainian city far from the front line, hitting homes, civilian infrastructure and even a museum, while Moscow continues to claim it is interested in diplomacy. Lithuania declared an air alert and scrambled NATO fighter jets after a suspicious drone was detected near the border with Belarus. According to Lithuania's defense ministry, the drone appeared to be approaching from Belarus. Airspace over Vilnius airport was closed, train traffic was temporarily suspended in parts of the country, and passengers at Vilnius railway station were evacuated to shelters.
Lithuania has issued an air alert in parts of the country after a suspected drone approaching from Belarus was detected near the border. NATO Baltic air policing has been activated.
That is all for now. Thank you for watching.